Last week we got all our happy feelings on, but now it's time to grab the tissues, because today we're talking about sadness. So in order to show something visually, we have to understand what it truly means. Now I know we've all felt sadness before, but putting it in words is something different, so this was the best definition that I could find online. It reads, sadness is an emotional pain associated with or characterized by feelings of disadvantage, loss, despair, grief, helplessness, disappointment, and sorrow. Now the reason I chose this, and I think this is such a great definition, is because it covers so many vast ways that we feel sadness, right? Just like last week, if you guys seen the happiness video, it's a range. It exists on like a huge spectrum from you could be a little sad to like overwhelmed with complete sadness. So now let's take a quick look at that visual representation of sadness. Remember, you want to think about these expressions and emotions on how you feel them. You know, like that first one could be, I don't know, maybe someone says something about you and you're not quite feeling it, but you know, it doesn't break you down. And then that last one is the breakdown, right? When you've overthought something or something just really gut-wrenchingly made you cry. We've all been there. It's not a great feeling. But the fact that we have all been there is something that we can lock into here to bring into our pictures. Now, whether you use them or not, emojis are a great way to express feelings when we're writing a message, right? It's something that exists in our everyday, and it's just another visual way of showing how we're feeling when we're talking to someone. So a great way to exercise drawing these emotions is to take the emojis that we all know and maybe love, maybe hate, and apply it to one of our characters for practice. So flower, you're up. All right, I'll keep this short and sweet on this section, but I just wanted to show, you know, emojis are just a perfect way of showing emotions. That's why they're called emojis, right? So how would you add these to your characters? Take these faces as examples, references, whatever you want to think of them as, and really try to embody that emotion on your character or the portrait that you're drawing, whatever it is. And remember too, with flower, I don't have too much of a body that I can work with, but that doesn't mean I can't incorporate some of his body language. You know, we want to think when someone's happy, they're bright, they're up, they're tall, but if someone's sad, it's the opposite, right? They're down, they're leaning over, they're hunched, they're closed. So how can we represent that too? And I don't have that much information with flower because he doesn't really have too much to move, but I can still represent those in different ways. So take your character, whoever it is, whatever it is, and practice and see what you guys come up with. And lastly, flower just wanted me to mention that remember, if you're drawing a full body, body language is important. It's just like I mentioned with having like the drooping sections of flower's head. You want to make sure that your body's incorporated too. In this series, we're just focusing on portraits, but you know, I gotta mention it. Don't worry, no flower was harmed in the making of this video. And now is the time in the show that we take a look back at all the cartoons that we know and love and gave us all the feels when we were kids that we didn't even know we could feel. Studying these expressions and understanding why they make us feel the way they make us feel and we really communicate that sadness is going to be one of the best tools that you can have in your toolkit when it comes time to tell your sad stories. Before we jump into drawing the face, I thought we could take a minute to look at what happens to the face and what's really going on when someone looks sad. Now for me, one of the most prominent things that happens when someone is sad is their eyebrows droop down to the side, right? And we want to remember everything in the face works together. So when we're drawing someone realistic, we have to remember too that if the eyebrows go down, that means that the eyelids come down, the eyes come together, everything's kind of reacting to the movement. So that also means that cheeks are going to be going up. And another thing that people kind of overlook is the fact that nostrils flare up, and you can really see a lot of that nostril opening. Not the most attractive look, but crying isn't supposed to be the most attractive thing, right? So kind of like I already mentioned, when your face gets more scrunched up, your eyes generally become more closed. So excuse the fact that this red made her look kind of like a devil, but I was just trying to represent that. And lastly, we have the iconic mouth with the droop on the side look that you can kind of see on my cartoon figure there. This is really going to kick that sadness up. Oh god, we're already starting. Jeez, we're just jumping straight in. Oh, all right. So this isn't a video about drawing faces, so if you guys do want to see that, I'm gonna link it down below. But if you guys want to follow along here and you already know that stuff, then let's follow along and draw. So I'm just kind of knocking in a basic face shape. It doesn't have to look anything like the figure to the left, really. We're just mainly focusing on features. As long as you can get the features correct, you're doing the right thing. You came to the right place. So what we want to do is, what are these characteristics that are making up sadness in her face particularly? And how can we exaggerate a little bit? We're going to do another figure a little more exaggerated too, so try to keep this one realistic. We want to kind of have that balance. To draw a really great exaggerated figure, it's always going to help you more to know how to draw the realistic. It's just the way it is. It's just the law of art. But anyways, so what I'm doing here is I'm really just following along with my reference. I'm exaggerating a little bit. Things are getting bigger. Things are getting smaller. I'm not really caring too much about my proportions. I do have some guidelines laid down. But for the most part, I really just care about how this picture ends up feeling. Not so much how this turns out perfect. Because, again, this is just practice. I'm practicing with you guys. So, you know, I say this in a lot of my videos, but this isn't the picture that's intended to go up on your fridge at the end of the day. This is just something to add to your toolkit. Now, we already talked about this face, so there's not too much I can say, but some of the things that we're seeing is that drooping mouth. How can you play it up? What's going on in there? How much can you see? Little tip from me, remember, don't draw the teeth like square per square. It's gonna look silly. If you don't believe me, go look up people who have tattoos of their baby's face smiling. Pause the video, go check it out. You'll understand what I'm talking about. And then when you come back, you'll know. So anyways, now we kind of move on. So for me, looking at this again, I could probably say, you know, I might go in and make that face a little more scrunched together. But at the end of the day, I'm really just trying to get that expression through the eyes. So I made the eyes a little bit bigger. I think I could take them lower with the eyebrows too. I think I can push the eyes and eyebrows lower on this one. But overall, I really wanted to have that drooping side to the eye that we've seen in our cartoon examples. And really fill those eyes with like a grief look to it, right? She's clearly, like, we know in this picture she's crying because of something happening to her. So we know what kind of sadness she's feeling, and we can kind of put ourselves in that position a little bit. Now, for the most part, I got the expressions in there, and we're already done with this. I'm just going to add some hair because, you know, I just felt like it was necessary to add that. But go ahead and get ready. If you guys can, flip to the next page, or just draw right next to it. We're going to draw our exaggerated figure now. So now I will say I was definitely not feeling the characteristic mood that I was last time. I tried, but for some reason I just kind of drew a more exaggerated, realistic version. And that's just what it's going to be, guys. That's just what came out of me. I'm sorry. But it's kind of characterized, right? So anyways, I was just playing up some features. I didn't really do any kind of crazy head shapes. And that kind of carries throughout this video. But what I really wanted to do was see the key features that are making me read sadness, right? Like when I look at this picture, what key features come out to me? To me, specifically, it's those eyebrows, it's the flared nostrils, and it's that iconic sad mouth shape that is just the bottom lip could be quivering, right? We can see it. So I really wanted to play that up. I went bigger with the mouth. I'm going to really play up those like flared nostrils now. So these are the characteristics that I want to kick up. But what are some of the ones that you want to kick up too? And remember too, just because I'm doing it this way doesn't mean you have to apply this to whatever you guys want to apply it to. Now I'm dropping my nose a little bit because, like I said when I was drawing the first one, I think that things could be lowered a little bit, taken down. I want to remember that we were talking about in our examples that when someone is scrunching their face together, whether it's happiness, sadness, it could be anger, whatever it is, the face is reacting together. If the mouth is opening and the cheeks are being pushed up, it's gonna push up into the eye, right? Everything kind of plays a symbiotic role together. And that could be something that you really play up in your picture. Now overall, I left the eyes pretty much the same. I just kind of played up that drooping sadness. And then again, I'm just going to throw in a little indication of the hair. Kind of went for more of like an uglier look on this one, I suppose. But didn't kick up that exaggeration too much. Maybe we'll get it with our next one. All right, so jumping straight in with this one again. Now, I really love this picture because I think this picture says 1,000 words for sure without over exaggeratingly showing them. We don't have any of those really intense kicked up emotions. It's not an intense cry, at least not yet in this moment that we're getting with this picture. So what are some of the things that you're seeing that you still notice that represents sad? Of course you have the tear falling down the face. That's, that's really obvious, and that's obviously a big clue that someone is crying. But what else do you see? The eyes, they're not so drooped as the last picture, right? But there is some droopiness going on there. We can see under the eye, we have that heavy eye bag. The eyes are becoming puffy. They're becoming a little swollen, right? So remember the times that maybe you've cried and like after you looked at yourself in the mirror, or maybe even the next day you looked in the mirror and you could tell that your eyes were just puffy from all those tears. So we're kind of seeing that effect happen here. We're getting a little bit of a flared nostril, not too much, but it's kind of happening. But as you can see there, what I just did with those arrows, what I'm really noticing is those sloped down eyebrows. He's really pushing his eyebrows down into his face towards his nose. And so if you guys are someone that draws guidelines like me, easiest way to indicate this, the easiest way is just to draw your eyebrows underneath the proportion lines that you would have made for your eyebrows. It's going to instantly give you that look that the eyebrows have gone down on the face. Now, you might not see it too much in this picture, but I would also give them a slight slope to them just to kind of further emphasize your point here. Now, this is kind of unique to this one person, but he has kind of like bigger lips. So that's also something that you can kind of play up with a little bit more of like, for lack of a better word, the pouty kind of look, right? People get kind of like a pouty look when they're sad. So you can also play that up with his lips. Now, one of the iconic things I was talking about when people are sad, remember, you have tears in your eyes. Tears can be irritating to your eyes. So you're going to kind of be squinting. You're going to have your eyes a little bit closed. Maybe you're blinking a tear out of your eyes. These are all things we're considering, so I drew those eyes nice and squinted and small. Probably could have pushed those proportions a little more, but it is what it is. So I think looking at this moment, I didn't capture a moment of intense sadness, but I think I did capture a moment of kind of like, this guy just heard something that he's not too sure he liked. Definitely could go back in and push these features, and we're because I'm gonna go back in and exaggerate this. So again, I wasn't holding myself to too tight of any kind of proportions here, but just kind of play it up. I'm gonna come in here and just kind of fix some things up too to make it look a little sadder. Catch those under eye bags, what's happening with the nose there. You could even play up maybe like a droopiness more on the mouth, have the sides of the mouth kind of slanted down a little more, kind of like you would see when you see a more cartoony sad face. So let's get a little more exaggerated here. When we can go exaggerated, we can play these features up to no end, and that's the zone that I want to live in. So honestly, really like this dude's face, okay? He's got some amazing jawline, and I'm gonna play it up. I'm not afraid to admit it. So we're going in, and I'm just really gonna play up that jaw. So that way I can even play up more of that mouth that we're talking about with like maybe the pouty look. I really just kind of play with the idea of bigger features overall, because the bigger something can be, the more information someone can instantly read from it. So we're gonna go in, I'm gonna add up some of these features. And first thing I'm gonna do is kind of create a little more of a flared nostril. Now I'm really looking at his nostril for reference, but I do want to kick it up a little bit. We've got to remember too though, that when you're going exaggerated, what do you want to show more of necessarily? So after I drew this nose, I decided, I was like, I like the big nose, but it's a little too big. So I'm going to go in there in a second and just kind of crop that down. Now, other aspects that we can play up though is that drooping eyebrow. So his aren't too drooped. He really just has some kind of scrunched down which is representing sadness for sure. But how can we kick that up, right? This is all about exaggeration, really, really pushing that narrative that this guy is sad. So just like we're going to take a cue from our picture from before, we're going to droop them down. And when I mean droop down, I mean they're kind of slanted down towards the ears. Now I'm really going to represent that with the eyes. And I'm going to put the eyes even closer to the eyebrows in this example because, again, I want to have that feeling of everything from the top is coming down, right? And you can also continue that by having everything from the bottom go up a little bit. All right, we can play up some of those eye features, the eye bags. He's pretty young, so we're not going to see too much of it, but you could play up some like of the crow's feet on the side of the eyes that kind of represent that the eyes are scrunched a little bit. And then I really like the lip shape going on here too. We kind of had like a little bit of a lopsided lip. And to me, that imperfection just kind of makes someone look more human. So I really wanted to play that up. And overall, I think we achieved a little bit more of a sadder face here, but we didn't end up going too over the top. I drooped down the sides of the lips a little bit just to kind of go with that more iconic sad face. And then of course, on this exaggeration, I had to draw in those tears. And we can't have a video about crying and sadness without having a picture of the king of sadness, the kings and queens of crying, and that's going to babies every day, right? So great thing about babies is their faces are super expressive, super squishy, and able to just kind of compress and create these really iconic shapes that you can take and add to your own pictures to kind of play those features up. So I'm just going straight for the exaggerated version here. We're not even going to do a realistic version. We already conquered those in the last two. Now I will say, exaggerated, cartoony, or otherwise, or even if you're going realistic, I can make a whole video about drawing babies, and maybe one day I will. But my tip right here is essentially you want to think of that face as having no bone structure. I know that sounds weird. But if you start giving this baby a tight jawline, you are quickly going to have something that is very different than a baby. Again, I can't tell you guys what to draw, but that's just my tip of the day. So just be thinking about puffiness, roundness, lack of bone structure, and you're going to have yourself a cute squishy baby face. So, okay. We have that really exaggerated, scrunched in nose, that like the mouth that's quivering. We know tears are about to start pouring out of this face. So it's such a great example. When you can really play up features too, like wrinkles on the side of the mouth, especially when you're drawing a baby when they don't even have wrinkles yet, right? This baby, its skin is brand new. It doesn't have the ability to have wrinkles on its face, but it's crying so hard that its muscles are pushed out of its cheeks and creating those. It's pretty intense. That shows some intensity to the sadness, right? And these are things that we can bring to our other aspects of drawing. Now again, we talked about those eyes being scrunched, we drew them closed, and lastly, we can of course add in some nice exaggerated tears. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching, and just remember, don't make flowers sad. Make sure to share this video with a friend that has trouble drawing expressions. And if you guys have any ideas for future videos, let me know in the comments below and I will get to those when I can. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.